Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to your very own Try It Before You Buy channel with your host Karamullah Kadwani. Today is going to be all about Oud Rosewood from the House of Christian Dior in their Privé line. But before we do that, if this is the first time you're tuning into my channel or still haven't subscribed but enjoy fragrance reviews, price points and alternatives where possible, in my humble opinion, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss another video. Another Oud? Really? Is it worth it? As we are getting duped into buying more from the brands we so love, but where's the creativity? Everything repeated over and over and over again by the bigger conglomerates as the house falls under LVMH. Something we have talked about on this channel before. Do we really need just another Oud fragrance with a little tweaks here and a little of this and a little of that? Mambo jumbo. Hell no. For the money you should be able to produce fragrances that knock our socks off. But it's the time and the world we live in where money is the end all be all. Not saying that money ain't everything, but is it just a means to an end or an end in itself, right? And I'm sure with the premium these houses are charging you, I think they should be able to keep their margin significantly high and give us something out of this world. Maybe it's just us, is it? I mean, you hear the learned will tell you straight, think out of the box. Come out of your comfort zone and discover new things. Because if we don't, we shall never learn anything new. Do we limit ourselves to our tastes, our likes, dislikes? We are so used to be told what to do, what to like, what to follow and unfollow. Sometimes peer pressure, other times the fear of not being accepted by such a society. Experimenting is a good thing, because that's where your nose will know better. And so will you. At first it may seem to be off, but the more you smell, the more you will be open to smelling, and the more your understanding shall become. You shall evolve as a fragrance connoisseur in your journey. And that should be the goal. Interesting fun fact. Let's deviate. That's something I'm good at doing, right? So till yesterday no one really cared about the channel, the content or other aspects of being a fragrance reviewer, but since we celebrated our first 1,000 and just recently I aired my 4,000 subscriptions video celebrations, everybody's kind of been telling me what will get me the clicks, and I'm more than glad to explain my take on perfumery. Do a quick cheapie, do a dupes alternatives video. My channel, as I've always said, it's not just about the clicks. It's a legacy. It's a legacy that I want to leave behind, an archive and thought-provoking channel that people will be able to access in years to come. And the way I see it coming, generations will probably not be as lucky to enjoy the exposure we have at any given time. We so talk about our vintage 70s fragrances and the niche artisan indie houses coming up. I think for generations to come, they may be the only thing that will remind us of vintage. Saving grace, if I may, tell a story and leave a true lasting impression of how great perfumes were of the past. Enough ranting though, so let's get back to reviewing Oud Rosewood. Let's quickly get into the question that urged me to say the above before actually giving it to you straight. Is it worth it, or is it just another Oud fragrance? Well, not only is it just another Oud fragrance, it is another Oud fragrance that will remind you of other fragrances, and not only fragrances from the same house, but the same line. I don't need the same fragrances over and over again, but that's exactly what LVMH will give you. Oud Rosewood by Dior is an oriental woody, or rather is an oriental woody fragrance for women and men. Oud Rosewood was launched in 2020, not that far ago, The nose behind this fragrance is Francois Demarchi, the then in-house perfumer. Now the perfumer is of course Francis Kirchen. So it is the same kind of synthetic oud used in Oud Ispahan as per my nose. And if you haven't watched my review for Oud Ispahan and from the House of Christian Dior, or my review of Oud Palau from the House of Dipti, after watching this video, please go ahead and watch those two previous videos. Top notes here are raspberry and quince. Middle notes are sandalwood and animal notes. Interesting. Base notes are agarwood, i.e. oud, and palisandre rosewood. What's this one all about? I was so excited when purchasing this one, but the more I've lived with this one, it actually reminded me of two other releases. The first time I sprayed it, immediately took me off and reminded me of Purple Oud and a bit of Santal Noir. It's a combination of those two fragrances. So are the bigger houses done? Are they not going to give us anything our money's worth? Or they just too tired to release any challenging perfumes that truly define the art of perfumery? Either ways, let's really dissect this right away. I just want you to know off the bat, and it starts with a hit of that synthetic oud accord that you have with Oud Isfahan. It is very mass appealing, but as discussed with Oud Isfahan, it has these animalic like undertones that might get newer oud enthusiasts. Better way of saying it is, if you don't have a lot of experience with the real deal, i.e. the real material, the actual oud, you think that this is what actual oud smells like, but well, it's a synthetic oud accord done well, using different notes. Initial spray, you do have the fruity touches, but very, very short-lived. The quince dissipates rather quick. Quince is actually a very bitter and puckery fruit which is cooked, and you add sweetness etc. to make it like a chutney. Chutney in my language and culture, and in English perhaps spread, marmalade like kind of thing, if you will. You can't eat it straight off the tree. It is a hybrid between an apple and a pear, but it's extremely fragrant when it's ripe on the tree. You're definitely getting more raspberry than quince here, in my opinion. This is what will remind you of Santal Noir, which reminds me, Santal Noir made it back from the hiatus. It's back in the stores and selling. Maybe when it was discontinued, you could have enjoyed this one, but with Santal Noir on the shelves, which one would you prefer? Also, as I was saying earlier, is that this is the part that will remind you of Santal Noir. As Santal Noir is a rose, ambrette and sandalwood based scent, and that in turn will remind you of Amber Nuit. So, ambrette as a note has accords of fruit and booze. I'm getting the fruitiness of ambrette here as well. That will remind you of Santal Noir. So if you still haven't tried Santal Noir, do try it though, so you can understand the relationship that all these scents share, from the use of sandalwood in Santal Noir, which is a Middle East exclusive for the longest time ever, and was ultra hard to find in the US markets back in the day, but the UK peeps had access to it. This is where it's going to get real and confusing. Hope you're ready to hear the telltale that this one reminds you of another, and another, and a third that reminds you of a fourth, and that'll lead you to a fifth perfume. Honestly, what is thrown at us is just amazing, and more amazing when we blindfoldedly purchase these scents from our beloved houses. Just goes out to say, buy a 3 ml decant, sample it if you can before pulling the trigger, try it before you buy it, as we always advocate on this channel. May not practice it, but that's what we advocate on this channel. Now that we have discussed the top, where quince dissipates rather quick, and the quince going into the heart of sandalwood, that will remind you of Santal Noir, going into the base, which will remind you of purple oud. Are you done? Don't. There's more coming, hang on, just yet. Purple oud compared to this one is much brighter with the citruses up top, whereas here it goes dark with the fruity opening, but purple oud will remind you of Anchor Noir and Gucci Guilty Absolute. Lord have mercy. They are all smelling alike. So is it really worth your money? Where they are launching by the dozen and discontinuing fragrances by 2 dozens, to say the least. So maybe a perfume doesn't do well. Sales in 2 or 3 months is shelved. To the best of my thought process, they decant a little bit of this and they decant a little bit of that and try selling it under a different name. Is that what's all left of the bigger conglomerates? One-off, they'll come with a fragrance for the true connoisseur, and believe it or not, a lot of fragrances I love as a connoisseur are shelved already before you can even try some of those, because of this kind of a psych mentality, if you may. Every release is just so mediocre. Oud Trafalgar itself will remind you of Bottega Veneta's Malagrana, that came in their exclusive line, in a beautiful bottle though, and I thought that was a better fragrance, which was a pomegranate based fragrance. It wore great with the fruitiness and the green touches. So you keep getting fragrances that smell like one another, with the great ones getting shelved. I'm just getting burnt out, and I wish to smell something different, something challenging, something maybe only the indie niche artisanal fragrance houses may offer. To those who are fairly new into the hobby, or those who have jumped in to the rabbit hole but not deep down enough, enjoy the trip while it lasts, as it will happen eventually, and will beg to differ, asking yourself a question: is this truly worth your money? Do I really need just another mass-pleasing, similar smelling scent to the many others I've already smelled before? Talk about fragrances that got shelved, that really had something to offer. Dior Leather Oud, for one. It's not like they're not capable of producing something well worth your money, but are they willing to, if sales ain't justifying production costs or affect their profitabilities? Leather Oud was so intense that even after washing it off, it'd still be around for a day, or at least that's what I remember of it. Regret not pulling the plug on that one though. When I could, I got my trusty Alcout by the House of Electimus that I've often kind of showed off, displayed. Deviations. This one also wears very, very light and could be worn in the summers too, which is maybe a good thing. And we are having a heat wave here in the United Arab Emirates, but I can get away with wearing this one and tons of sprays. Though it's an oud fragrance, lacks depth as opposed to what they'll tell you, what the wearing experience is. An intense wearing oud experience is, that's what they say on their website. Oud Ispahan, a really better one if you must. Oud Ispahan had that Middle Eastern rose. Here you mostly have a woody fragrance with a fruity opening, so calling it an oriental woody, though oud is definitely something you'd find in an oriental composition. Here it lacks the other components of an oriental, such as vanilla, resins and things like that. What I mean to say is, maybe, just maybe, if they would have added some resinous, balsamic, vanillic touches, just touches, I mean not taking it into a gourmand direction, this scent perhaps would have been more interesting, at the least. Labdanum, maybe a little bit of animalic here and there. Castoreum, civet to give it that pissy animalic like funk. Castoreum to bring in a few leathery nuances. I don't know what you could have done with this. I think they're better decision makers, but they didn't. Alright, so we have a close-up. Let's take a look at the presentation. And the presentations with these designer houses, i.e. Dior, Chanel, Celine perhaps, LV, are remarkable. And we don't need to get into presentations, but just for the sake of the video. So here is the box for Oud Rosewood. Comes off like so. You have a cellophane wrap which you kind of pull. It's very satisfactory, the sounds that it makes. And then you have your bottle of Oud Rosewood. The one thing that I'd like to point, I'm telling you that these were really thin. They're nice perfumes, but they were really thin. I wish they had a little oomph, like I said, resins, perhaps balsamic, leathery undertones, slight animalics thrown in to get the interest into the perfume. This is the color of the juice, and if you know anything about me, I like my juices dark. This is such a see-through, transparent kind of juice color. And this is exactly perhaps how it wears. I mean, that's Amber Nuit, which was perhaps darker. And you know that ambers usually have a very dark kind of a tint. I shall show you an amber in just a bit. That will actually prove my point further. This is Toba color. Don't get me wrong, the color of the juice here may be light. Slightly darker, but this has a lot of heft. I mean, summers, I wouldn't think of wearing this one in the summers. I definitely love it for the winters, winter staple perhaps. Oud Isfahan, as we saw the other day, which I also failed to mention, is that the color of the juice. Look at how thin it is. I mean, I remember it was darker. It's definitely darker in the extracts though. I mean, the Esprit de Parfum concentrations, that's Gridio. The rose and patchouli scent, I think a cheaper like rose and patchouli scent that I do adore. I will get back to you in just a sec. I'm back. As promised, this is a fragrance from Mosque Milano. And the name of the fragrance is Tango, done by Cecile Zerokian. Rest in peace, the owner, or rather the owner of the brand Mosque Milano, and I think Milano Fragrances, passed away I think earlier this year. May his soul rest in peace. This is Tango, and this is perhaps how I love like the color of my juice. Extremely dark, extremely thick, like, I mean, and this is how the fragrance actually wears. I'm not, even if I hold it from the top, look at the color of the juice here. It's dark, it's just what it's come to. That's Amber Nuit. So if you compare the two of these, and I'm holding them from the top, so I'm not kind of adding anything to it, right? Just compare the colors of the juice, and this really wears thick. It has this slight animalic undertones, sweaty like cumin nuances, which I actually love. I adore this fragrance. We shall be reviewing this one soon, and have one other one from this house. It's called Love Kills, which I'm not sold on. But Tango happens to be one of my favorites. So if you're a more experienced veteran, you may want to try it and see if you like it. But if you're new to the game, again, do try it, and if you like it, buy it. Keep your smelling game on, and good luck with your journey. Love you all. Thank you for staying till the end. We did discuss pricing for these in Oud Isfahan, and the pricings are the same for the Privé collection, for all the perfumes across the Privé collection, and the different sizes available for purchases. Just my 2 cents, if you will. Do let me know your thoughts. Also let me know if you already have this gem of a composition in your arsenal, or if you're interested in at least giving it a try after watching this review. Do give me a thumbs up if you take anything of value from this. Do share your experiences, and don't forget to comment. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my capabilities. Until the next time, your host Karamullah Kadwani signing out.